Hey guys, Mr. B here. Today I've got a 2011 Honda Ridgeline, and customer complaint is that the air conditioning does not work. So today I'm going to show you guys how to diagnose the problem. We're going to figure out what's wrong with it and then go from there. So right now I've got the AC on, right? So AC on all the way down to the low temperature. Of course, the fan's on. So I've got it to where the air conditioning should be on, and there is no cold air coming out of those vents at all. So the first step that I like to do is go and check the AC compressor. So we take a look over here on this vehicle. The AC compressor is way down there at the bottom. And the first thing I notice is that the clutch is not engaged. Okay, so the engine's obviously running, vehicle's on, air conditioning's turned on. It's not working because that compressor down there the clutch is not engaged, so the compressor is not working. So my next step to diagnose this problem, to see if that compressor is in fact bad, is to check for power going to the compressor. There is, on these Ridgelines, a connector right back in here. So I'm going to go ahead and unplug that connector. Again, it's that one right there. And I'm going to check for power going to the compressor. Now, the other thing you want to check for too is, I guess even before you check for power, is you want to make sure there's pressure in the system. So if there's no refrigerant in the system, then that tells you right there that that compressor is never going to turn on, because there are sensors and pressure switches on some vehicles built into the AC system to turn that compressor on and off. So if there's no refrigerant in the system, then it's just not going to work at all. And I will tell you this, I already checked it, this car does have pressure, but just to show you guys what we're working with, I'll go ahead and hook up my gauge real quick. So you got your high side hose, your low side hose, and I'm gonna go ahead and hook them up. There's one port there, and then another port down there. It's gonna be kind of tricky to get it down in there. I'm gonna go ahead and shut the vehicle off, just so that way I don't get my hand caught in the belt or something silly. And I'll go ahead and hook up those hoses. Typically speaking, when you hook up your hoses, this is just general rule of thumb, the pressure on the hoses should be similar to ambient air temperature, whatever the temperature is where you're at. So go ahead and hook this up. So it's got a quick connect on it right there. And then I just turn that valve to open it. And I'll do the same thing with the high side. So that's the high side there. Again, quick connect goes down to that fitting there. And these fittings do have some plastic caps on them. I already removed them. You just want to make sure that when you're done, you put them back on, because it does help keep dirt and debris out of those service valves and prevents future leaks. So I'm going to go ahead and twist that knob, open the valve up. And I can already hear the refrigerant coming into the hose, so that's a good sign that there is refrigerant. So the low side's at 90, high side's at 100. The temperature today is right around 80. So, general rule of thumb, the pressure should be around or a little above is fine. Similar to that ambient air temp. So that right there tells me we've got refrigerant in the system. So that compressor should be turning on way down in there. I suspect that it's got a bad compressor clutch. That clutch right on the front of it, that electromagnetic clutch, they go bad all the time. That piece right there on the front of that pulley is an electromagnetic clutch. So when it has power going to it, it engages that pulley that the belt spins to the compressor to make the compressor, you know, produce pressure and push that refrigerant through the whole system. And ultimately, in the end, you get some nice cool refrigerant in the cabin. Air blows past the evaporator. Everybody's happy and cool. So next step, now that we know that there's pressure, is in order to make sure that this compressor is bad, like I said, I'm going to unplug that connector up in there, hook up my meter to it, and see if there's power. What I like to do, you can use your meter. You can also use a headlight. So I'm going to go ahead and hook that up and then show you guys what that's all about. All right. So to test the AC compressor, all you really need is a headlight. I made this myself with a couple of wires coming out of it, and I soldered in some old T-pins, some sewing needles, and those work pretty well to be able to poke into the connector once it's unplugged. If the connector is big enough, you can also use it to back probe behind the wire. If you don't have this fancy setup, you could just grab any old headlight that does work, and then get some test leads. So these test leads are pretty handy. You can probably even buy them at Harbor Freight or make your own. This one's a 30-foot retractable test lead. It's literally just wires with some alligator clamps. You know, you could make them yourself if you really wanted to save some money. So the reason why I like to use the headlight to test the AC compressor is because if the circuit can light up the headlight, it can operate the compressor clutch. So that if the headlight lights up, that tells us that the compressor clutch is bad and it needs to be replaced. I wouldn't do this trick on every circuit, right? Only your higher amperage stuff, like obviously a headlight circuit, you know, an AC compressor clutch circuit in this case. Be cautious of how you use the headlight to test for power, because you don't want to fry a computer or something like that. So you could also use your multimeter. That works as well. But I like to use the headlights for the AC compressor clutch circuits, because that tells you that that circuit is able to handle the amperage needed to operate that compressor clutch right there. Because that's what we're trying to determine right now. Is the compressor clutch bad, or do we have an electrical problem? In which case we got to chase, you know, some wiring diagrams. So I'm going to go ahead and take one end of my my lead here for my headlight, and I'm going to stick it in the end of the connector for the compressor. All right, so I've got the end of my lead here in the end of that connector for the AC compressor. And then the other end, I'll just hook to one of my alligator clamps. Right, like this. And then the other end of that wire, I'm going to hook to any good ground. In this case, my wire's long enough. I can just go right to battery negative. So I am supplying my headlight a ground connection via that wire. And then with the air conditioning on, if that headlight lights up, that tells us we've got power going to the AC compressor and that the AC compressor is bad. So I'm going to go ahead and start this vehicle back up. Get that AC going. See what happens with our headlight. Okay, so again, AC's on, fan's on, it's on low. You want to make sure that the air conditioning is on. You know, whatever vehicle you're working on, you want to make sure somehow, some way, you know that, hey, the air conditioning did get turned on. So now we're going to take a look underneath, and ooh, hey, look at that. Our headlight's nice and bright. So that right there tells us that the AC compressor is getting turned on by the electronics in the vehicle. We do not have an issue with our on and off switch or any of our modules or our pressure sensors or our circuitry involved with turning on that AC compressor. And obviously that clutch is not turning on. We know we've got power going to it, so it should be working right now. Well, not right now because we've got our headlight hooked up, but it should be working, and it's not. That AC compressor is bad. If you found this helpful, please like and subscribe to the channel, and I will be posting more videos on how to remove and install an AC compressor and a condenser and some other parts as well. So there's that.